Hello, and welcome to PLC number 2.
For this PLC Coastal team, we are going to be asking you to think about the students you have in your class and think about PBIS and how it's going now. For those of you who may not remember, PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. And essentially, that's the 8 keys and everything we're doing to teach behavior and expectations to our students, praise them for making great choices, and hold them accountable when they're making not so great choices. And so for PLC 2, we're going to introduce a fabulous resource that you can use when you have a challenging student in your class. Okay, so Danielle, think about your time as a 5th grade teacher. You spent a lot of years in 5th grade.
I did.
Can you think about a student that was especially challenging behaviorally?
Many. Okay, so let me bring up just one. I have a student in mind that is constantly off task, off focus, just does not seem to engage in the work that we're doing. Seems like he's kind of on another planet sometimes. And I really don't know what I, would do with that student to help him be more focused. Do you have any ideas?
I do.
Yay.
So many times when we have challenging students, it is really easy to label that student as our problem student and suffer for the remainder of the school year because we feel like we have no hope. This is who they are. That's the end of the story. This school year is just going to be rough. Well, I am here to tell you, colleagues, that I have a resource for you that will help you to deal with challenging students. Introducing the PBIS World Book. Remember, PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention and Support. PBISworld.com is a great website for you to use and refer to, but we have this book here which will make sure that grade level teams have access to, which can help you find resources and interventions you can try in class to help the student and make your life and classroom environment just a little bit easier. So, Danielle, can you remind me the symptoms you're seeing from that student in class?
They were not focused, inattentive.
Perfect. So the first thing you're going to do, Coastal Team, is you'll open up the book to the table of contents, okay? And on the table of contents, as you look down, you can see a variety of issues from anxiety to lying to name calling to being off task or non-disruptive. So let me see here. There's one down here, Danielle, let me find it, that says unfocused and inattentive. Would you feel like that describes your student?
Perfectly.
Okay, well, if I turn to page 64 here, there is this wonderful resource, and at the top of the page, it has all of the symptoms. So here you'll see the student may frequently be off task, easily distracted, need frequent redirection or refocusing. Does this all sound familiar, Danielle?
Very, yes.
So the first thing you'll do, team, when you look at this is you'll look at the symptoms at the top of the page and make sure that that's indicative of the student that you're struggling with. If it's not, perhaps you'll go back to the table of contents, flip through the book. There are so many different options. You want to make sure that you identify the issue that's most prevalent in your class. Then, after you go through the part that says the student may, right underneath it, you'll see possible interventions, okay? And possible interventions, some of the ones they suggest, these are research-based, tried and true, social counselors, psychologists, behavior analysts, they've all worked on PBISworld.com to make this book. And so you'll look at the interventions and ask yourself, are there any of these I've tried already? How did they go? Did it work well? Did it not work well? Are there any interventions I could possibly try? So for one of them here, it suggests an alternative mode of completing assignments. So Danielle, have you noticed with this student that this student learns in a particular type of way and is more successful, say when he does visual activities or kinesthetic? Is he more auditory?
Yes, I think he's more kinesthetic. Oh, he does better when
Perfect.
He's moving around.
So thinking about that, as you're designing lessons and activities, do you think that there's a way that we could create opportunities for him to show and demonstrate his learning in a kinesthetic way?
I could do that, and even just having him stand up to complete assignments may be helpful for him.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So Danielle and I are modeling the kinds of conversations that we would love for you to have at your second PLC. So as you look through the list of possible interventions, there are page numbers that reference more about it. So for example, if you see card flip, that's usually referring to like change your card from green to yellow. If you want to know more about that, in this binder, it tells you what page to flip to, and it'll explain the intervention further. So natural consequences. If you wanted to know more about what natural consequences could be, in parentheses it says page 90, you could flip to page 90 and learn more about that. So this binder is used as a tool to help you problem solve and come up with some interventions and strategies you can try when you have really behavior frustrating issues. Danielle, what did you want to add to that?
One question. What tier would the interventions be from this binder?
So the great thing about this binder, this is great, this whole binder here is tier 1. So reviewing the different tiers, sorry, I need to stay in the camera here. Reviewing the different tiers, tier 1 is what we're doing as general education teachers in the classroom. So our tier 1 strategy right now for PBIS is our 8 keys and teaching expectations. Interventions like this that you're trying in the classroom is also tier 1. So the expectation would be, if you have a student you're really struggling with, or a parent is struggling with at home when they're teaching their student, we would refer to this binder, we would problem solve with our team, pick out a couple strategies to try, document the progress we're making so that if it gets to the point where we need to reach out to Jenny, our school counselor, or psychologist, or we need to have an SST, you can say, I've already looked in PBIS World, I've identified the problem, these are the symptoms, these are some interventions we've tried, help! And then we will say, great, you've tried everything, now let's move them on to tier 2 and see what we can do to help you and this student. Does that make sense?
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Okay, so now I challenge you with your grade level groups to choose some of those hard to work with, hard to deal with students and use this amazing binder to come up with some tier 1 interventions that you can try in class for them. I'm going to share a Google Doc with your team leader, and I don't want you to necessarily share the students that you're thinking about, but just share which of the tier 1 interventions that you brainstormed and talked about and looked up in the binder. I hope you have a good time doing this.